Hey everyone, it's Asel here. Behind me we've got my 1993 325i. We're out here on a very moist Monday. I know a lot of you guys hate that word, but the main subject of today's video is my 1993 325i Coupé. So a very early E36 BMW. In particular, it's booked in for next Saturday to head into Munich Legends, the workshop that specializes in old BMWs, restorations. It's going to have a lot of work done, but I thought we'd do a nice before and after. So this is going to be the before, where I talk you through all the things that are wrong with it, all the things I want to do to it. So hang tight, let's spin the camera around. It's going to be a very long and very expensive list. But I suppose before we start talking about all the things that are wrong with it, let's talk about what this car is. So again, 1993 325i automatic coupe, one of the earliest examples. Now this is finished in the, I think it's called titanium silver, I might be wrong. Sterling silver. This is sterling silver. It's actually quite an early colour too. The way you can tell it's a pre-facelift, so an early E36, if it has the squarish front kidney grills, and also if it's got this kind of darker plastic moulding here on the side and not the full kind of indicator width. That's how you can tell it's a pre-facelift. The 325 was the top spec model back then, roughly 192 horsepower from the 2.5 6-cylinder iron block M50 engine. The M52 replaced this in the 328i in the mid-90s. But again, it's a really kind of sedate looking car. You can see it has some of the Alpina bits around it on the wheels, the side skirts, the spoiler, but it did come with a pretty high level of spec. So on the inside we have luxury such as electric seats with lumbar support, a fire extinguisher which is probably very, very expired, cruise control, which I've not seen many 3 Series of this generation with cruise control. Of course, it is the automatic 5-speed gearbox, dual zone air conditioning with somewhat of a trip computer and an electric sunroof that does still work. And one of the other options is the leather, the armrest over there, and believe it or not, headrests in the back seats were optional items. So a pretty nice spec. One of the things I really appreciate is the fact that this car does also have the factory fitted limited slip differential at the back, which does make it handle pretty well. And if you want to go a little bit more sideways, it's pretty confident at doing that. In terms of mileage right now, what's it saying? 102,625 miles as of right now. So considering the car is now 29 years old, that is not bad at all. And a little detail I forgot to mention is actually up here at the front. This is also quite a rare feature, but it has got the headlight washers that also still work. So you don't really see many 3 Series, again, of this generation that have the headlight washers, let alone ones that actually work. The one before it had like wipers on the headlights, which I thought were really cool, but they ditched the wipers for those squirty headlight washers instead. So what could be wrong with a 30-year-old BMW that's done 100,000 miles and probably passed through about 5 to 6 different owners? Well, mostly it is rust. Every single arch of this BMW is rotting away. It's a section of the floor panel now that actually has a little hole in it, which will fail the British MOT come January, which is when this is due. Now, of course, the rust is one detail. The E36 came out of a generation where recycling and kind of plastic reuse and easy disassembly was quite a high priority for a lot of manufacturers, and that's really cool. But what isn't really cool is the fact that the interior of the E36 just kind of likes to deassemble itself over a period of time. You'll see this especially around the door cards, the dashboard, and in particular the headliner. So what is actually wrong with the car? Well, first of all, the owners who've had this previously have clearly had some paintwork done. You can see there's a ton of lacquer peel all over the front end, in particular the arches, the bonnet. It's kind of less obvious when it's raining, but lots of lacquer peel. Actually, lacquer over lacquer. This is actually already a lacquered section down here too. And interesting, this car's clearly had a shunt because you can see it's a bit of an indentation there where clearly it's had a shunt and someone's tried to fix it. A lot of lacquer peel around there. The biggest culprits when it comes to rust is going to be on this particular arch here. So there's already a cheeky little hole that does, you put your finger through there. What you can't see is underneath the car, and actually that's where it hides all the atrocities. So this entire arch, thankfully, it's an easy replacement, but you'd have to paint the whole thing across. And there's more evidence of really poor paintwork. Again, all this rain does hide everything. This entire door is full of like pin dents and really badly done paint. and over to the rear, these arches are also starting to rust, again, more so on the inside. You can't see it where it has been repaired in the past. So again, a whole section of metal is going to have to be completely cut off and a new bit slapped in there to make sure this doesn't happen again. So not a repair, but a complete replacement. The rear of the car, to be fair, it all looks pretty tidy back here. No real concerns, aside from I think they tried to use Halford's spray can paint to do the spoiler. It doesn't look particularly great. Thankfully the rain does hide out. But little details I really appreciate is the fact that you can actually still see the reg number etched into all the windows. So all the windows still have reg number etched into them. They did this back in the 90s as a dealer fitted accessory. So in case a part of your car got nicked, or kind of smashed into, they can see the windshield that has had that replacement. On the driver's side, again, a ton of lack appeal there. That's also rusty, and I did do a little boo-boo here, which is I cracked the bumper. That was me, that was 100% my fault. You'll notice the wheels look a little bit bare, a little bit naked, because they are missing the Alpina caps. I actually have the Alpina caps. Oh. So these are meant to go here. They really do finish things off, but unfortunately the lock doesn't work anymore. At least the key I was given for these locks never really paired with these caps, so unfortunately these had to be broken off. I need to get new locks for these to get them back in again. This has all kind of been repainted, it's all kind of chipped off at the moment, so a lot of work needs to be done over here. In fact, you'll notice the green colour on here. This was a green Alpina spoiler, green bumper before it was attached to this car. And that is because the previous owner of this 3 Series also had an Alpina B2.5 finished in, I think it was Boston Green. Unfortunately, that car was way far gone. It had rusted beyond the point of economic repair back a few years ago when these cars weren't worth very much. So what he did was he took all the Alpina bits off that B2.5, stuck it onto this 325i to at least make sure that the Alpina parts of that car lived on to a new life. And they do look pretty good, but unfortunately they're not cheap to fix or replace because I have to get that bumper replaced now because of how I cracked it. I mean, to be fair, the paint was already shocking on it, so it was due for repair or replacement at some point. It is kind of cold and I'm getting a little bit wet, so let's head inside and show you all the bits, again, that need tending to on the inside. If you're looking to buy one of these cars, just make sure you actually look at the interior photos. What I do find is a lot of sellers of E36s never post decent pictures of the inside, and mine didn't really have a picture of the headliner, which is the thing that I really hate the most because you like see through it on the rearview mirror all the time. It just looks awful. I do have the new material. Annoyingly, where this is a sunroof model, the sunroof has to come off for the headliner to come off and for everything to be repaired properly, so it's going to be quite the job. But anyway, I mean, all in all, this whole thing doesn't look too bad on face value. So in pictures, it would look pretty great. Of course, where this is genuine leather, it will crack over time as normal leather or real leather actually does. The armrest has had the same fate. The steering wheel looks pretty good. Again, the leather's a bit worn at this point, not the end of the world. But what I mean by the interior literally disassembling itself is take a look at this passenger door card. The actual lining is just de-gluing itself. Have a look at this door panel here. I can literally stick my fingers in this gap. That is not meant to happen. And of course, the classic E36 glove box. That is just way misaligned. I mean, just look at this. That is not meant to have the amount of flex it does, nor is it meant to be peeling down here. So far, those have all kind of just been cosmetic bits and bobs, which doesn't sound too bad, right? But what that does essentially mean is that all 4 quarters of the car have to be painted, and for it to be done properly, along with the bonnet to be fixed, the bumper to be fixed, the entire car needs to be stripped down to its bare metal, repaired where necessary, and of course completely repainted. So by the time the car leaves Munich Legends, it's going to look near enough brand new on the outside, which I'm very excited for, but again, that doesn't come cheap, but hopefully it'll be worthwhile. The bits on the inside, again, cosmetic bits and bobs, I'm sure they can be tidied up. So this is my history folder, so everything I've had done to the car, all the service records I've had when I bought the car are all in here. And one of the nice little touches, in fact, I'm going to show you, is the Alpina badges. So this was the plaque that was on the original B2.5 that's now been dismantled. Can I get this to zoom in a bit more? Which is actually placed up on the dashboard just over there, and this was the B2.5 badge. Now the B2.5, I won't get into it in too much detail, was actually a UK only Alpina. It was under license by Sytner BMW UK in particular, and what's quite interesting is looking at the brochure from back then for the Alpinas, you could actually buy the badges and the spoilers and put them on any E36 3 Series, so you didn't have to have a genuine Alpina to have some of these badges, not this one, but some of these badges on it. The automatic gearbox does, I suppose, make it slightly less desirable, but I've got to say, in the couple of years that I've had it and the road trips I've done with the car, the auto is pretty smooth. Having that 5 speeds with the kind of the overdrive at the top, so it kind of feels like a 6-speed gearbox. It does feel pretty modern, it works, it does its job, and it has got a handy sports mode here to help hold the gears, and that does make a huge difference having that sport mode engaged. I would prefer a manual, of course, but I must say, even though there are manuals for sale, not only are they more expensive, but most of them are kind of just in worse condition. Like, this is, give it again, 30 years old. It's in pretty decent condition overall. It drives, it stops, it steers, the gearbox works, and it's not jerky in any sorts of way. So if you're looking for a pretty good value E36 that you know is going to be looked after, that you know isn't going to have been drifted or ragged around on a track, the auto will be your choice, and a couple of grand aside will get this converted across to a manual 5-speed, so you can always kind of budget for that in the future, but at least you'll know that underneath you'll have a car that's been pretty well looked after, especially if you're going to have this as a daily car. Let's start it up and see what it sounds like. I mean, to be fair, the engine's already warm, so it's going to be pretty quiet. Oh dear. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, it's all there. The warning light's gone. Easy fix. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little walk around of my 93 325ia Coupé. Gosh, that's a mouthful to say, and all rhymed as well, how funny. But again, it's going into Munich Legends next Saturday in real world timing. I'll probably post the video probably a few weeks after that point actually happens. So by the time you guys actually see this video, the car would be in the workshop, up in the air, being disassembled into its main components. But there's a lot of potential in the car, that's what I've been told at least. I want to keep it going, but let's just see how much it all kind of costs in the end. I suppose see what the work in progress looks like. So until the next episode, thanks for watching, and yeah, subscribe to see more.